Morning, Graham. Good. All right, good morning, and thank you for coming. New faces from yesterday. Um, our continuation with a slightly different emphasis today. Today is Software Day, and we're pleased we've got Cam Regan with us, who's you guys all know and love and so forth. We've got a little video interview presentation with Jeff Elder, who regrettably can't be with us here today. He loves taking cruises, and he's very, very clever. He doesn't take traditional cruises. He takes these repositioning ones where you like go from the Caribbean to the Mediterranean or Baltic or whatever. So he likes doing those. And we've had a rough, interesting season this year with a lot of different things. So everybody needs a break. So certainly can't begrudge people for that. And we've got our special guest, Mr. Matt Howard, here with us. And, you know, Matt is one of these fellows who has a lot of different cool levels, and I've been pleased to have him work with me for many, many years on several different projects. And this summer, he and I are going to the jungles of Peru to do an event called Canoe Slalom, which is basically, you know, kayaks and canoes, but not traditional canoes. They look like kayaks, but you kneel in them. And they do slalom. They have poles that are hung from cables over the rivers, and they go down and they have a lot of the similar things that we do. The cool thing about canoe slalom is it's live scored. So they actually have at each pole station referees, gate judges, if you will, but they have a two-sided like penalty board. You don't get DQ'd. You just get penalized. And if you choose that you don't want to be penalized, you have the option. Well, you can paddle around and go through legally and so forth. And they video everything, and they do it in such a way that they have sections of video, and there's a video referee, but they have these paddles, and with the number of penalty fractions and so forth, and it's kind of like a question, and trying to keep up with it so that the TV broadcast, is all being calculated as. So it's really intense, but then when you're done, which is kind of fun as well, because it's like, okay, we scored it all, we did everything, and it's all clean at the end of the day. So Matt's big help with that, and Matt is North America's leading Vola expert. Now, I know if you guys have not heard of Vola software, it's a commercially available product based on the experiences of a contracting company in France who essentially does the same things I was doing, Matt's doing, Gilles is doing. And at some juncture, I guess people came to them and said, hey, this software is great. We want to lease it, or we want to have the opportunity to use it. So what Matt has done is, taken his experience as a professional contractor, starting off doing things with split second and so forth, and doing things with Excel spreadsheets. And little by little, he has now used Vola to differentiate himself in the States by incorporating video screen output, live streaming, enhanced live timing, things like that. So it's an interesting tool. It is like everything else. It is something that there is absolutely no free lunch in anything, right? There is no slam dunk and say, here you go, right? We know this from the most basic thing with the, even with our friend the photocell, about the simplest and stupidest thing you can play with, there is still no free lunch, right? So I am going to turn this over to Matt. And Matt, you do have to play with the Mr. Microphone, otherwise it doesn't go on the recorder thing properly. So we'll leave that to you. Matt Howard from Botland, New Hampshire.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks, everybody, for having us up here. So without sounding like a shill for the company, if you will, as Fred said, the longer version is a number of years ago, Ski and Snowboard mandated that everyone was going to use Vola in the U.S. So there was a rapid transition from split second to Vola within implementation period of about 6 weeks. And at the time, there were probably physically 4 people in the United States that had run Vola prior to the day it was announced. And the group of us by default became the support on the other end of the 1-800-HELP-VOLA phone calls that inevitably came in to the tune of about 45 hours worth of phone conversations and 600 or 700 emails just that I handled alone. So it was a requirement that everybody get up to speed and really learn what was possible with the software. So it was a rather steep learning curve, and things they look different, they feel different, they operate differently. But I found that for my use, that Vola was a great product to have as another tool in the tool bag, as Fred said, as a professional contractor. So I've used a wide variety of softwares. Worked with Jeff Elder with Split Second back when it was still DOS-based, and there was no real graphical user interface. And I have somewhere in my box of things a USB to floppy drive adapter, and I still have floppy drives of races that I timed with Jeff, for others, for myself, in Split Second, and saved to the A drive. So it's been a long time working with Jeff in Split Second. But, so like I said, that Vola and Split Second and another number of other softwares for different various purposes are part of what's been my experience. So this is the new look this year of Vola Ski Alp Pro. Is everybody familiar with? Is anybody familiar with using Vola? No. Is everybody okay? Prior to today, knew the existence of Vola. Okay. Interested in something else for software? I guess maybe we'll see what that comes to be at the end of the presentation. So Vola, you purchase the software, and it's the basic software package, and you can time with it, and then the rest of the icons on the screen are apps that add on, if you will. So we have the main software here. Let me find my mouse. This is Ski Alp Pro. They have Display Ski Alp Pro. So Ski Alp Pro is the main software, and everything else is an add-on to it. So Display is used for a separate announcer screen. Some of you might have seen earlier. I had it up. We'll get to that. It's a separate announcer screen, or you can put it on this television, or you can put it on the network across all the TVs here in the lodge. They just need to be connected to, this is the timing computer on the same network, and it says, okay, I need to find the timing data from here, and we can display this someplace else. So it's rather versatile. Live Ski Alp Pro allows you to have a Vola hosted page. So I have one that's set up. It's a kind of nondescript address that really doesn't mean a heck of a lot. But it's my page. I can rename the link and point it from the host's website to say go here, or it's on my site. It's embedded in my site. If you go to p1timing.com, click on live timing, whatever's actually happening on the hill at that moment is there. It doesn't stay. You can't search it tomorrow unless if I've already taken it down. So there's no permanency. It's actually just live, what's happening immediately. I do it a lot. I do most of the Division I collegiate races in the Eastern U.S. And the coaches really like that. They can remember who's in the lead. They don't necessarily need to go back. There is a start list available. There is a ranking list tab available. We'll get to that. But the men are racing. I can put it up on my phone. There's the men. The women are racing. Okay, there they are. It's an interesting feature to add on. It also has the ability to show dual racing. So you can have the two athletes on course, and once they get to the finish for differential, you'll see the time back with a plus 0.526, and then a big green winner next to the other athlete. And that's currently the only way in the U.S. that VOLA, or let's say in North America, that VOLA is able to show dual timing. The next one is Ski Out Pro FIS. This season was a paid service through VOLA. Was not announced prior to the season that it was going to be paid, and it was not very well received, but paid for by everybody. Everybody tried to fire up for their first FIS race and said, wait a minute, why isn't this working? And my phone rang. Or I got an email. And I said, oh yeah, found that out last week. I thought I had emailed everybody. So the first couple of days, I made sure I emailed everybody on my contact list and said, before you get to your first FIS race, pull out a couple $100 because it's going to cost you some money this year. And we've had some discussions back and forth with VOLA in France about the wisdom of charging for it, and it may change for next year, it may not. But anyhow, there it is. So that's the ability to send our race to the FIS site. And you have to have an account on the FIS, which is free. It takes a couple of days to email back and forth with them and get their credentials and set it up, but it's all there, and it looks quite nice on the FIS app as well. They have a great application. Their website's good. Looks great on the phone. So, as a contractor, as a timing provider, I like to have it available for everybody in whatever fashion they want. So, if I do a national scored event, it's on the national live published site that US Ski and Snowboard hosts through VOLA. It's on my site. If it's a FIS event, it's on the FIS site, my site. Pick your platform. You can find the race. No, this is it. To get it to the FIS website, this is it. Yep. Video Ski Out Pro is a rather robust package that allows you to show video content of the race on your site, the VOLA's site, and to overlay timing graphics. It's switchable from multiple camera views. It's extremely high end. And one of the things to notice about all of this is the product, the title, and Dash Pro. A lot of this is high level stuff. I've used it on a number of occasions, and it's at least two more people to operate everything, do it effectively, and still have somebody be able to time over here. It's a lot of people are really interested in being able to have their races online, see the video, so people can watch from wherever they are in the world. And the graphics package is really great. Does a professional job. It's a broadcast quality product, and it takes broadcast level quality equipment as well, and it's time consuming and resource consuming. So you need to be absolutely certain that you've got the timing end down first, and then you can add on all the toys and bells and whistles and shiny things. There's only one other item here that's available that through discussions with Vola, they have one called Clips Pro. That's they've changed the name to View Pro. It's similar to the video, but it's just each athlete. Maybe it's more suited to one camera, and you can set it to show the last 25% of the race, say. So your run's coming down, we've got a camera pointed from the timing building, and you'll see the last 10 gates or whatever, and we'll show the timing graphics. I used it for a few years, and this is back in 2016 at the Dartmouth Skiway for the Dartmouth Winter Carnival. You see, here's the Sandro Simonet, a Swiss athlete, was there came over for a number of weeks, and Sandro's been on the Swiss team for a little while now. A nice kid. I happened to meet him. We had one intermediate partway, about halfway down the track. This was a fairly short, quick GS. And you see way over here is Watch His Run. Here's the little video clip. And this was one camera at the bottom. Oh, of course, it can't be played. So I guess I should have tried that before. Unfortunately, I think we're going to find that happen. Okay, so if you could see that, my apologies for not testing that prior to right now. If you could see that, you'd see Sandro come down the last few gates. There's a lower third graphic, as you're used to seeing the name, bib, time, and a header behind is either red or green. I may have some other copies of those videos that I can find later on when we're done sort of rambling on about this. But that product is available as well through Vola. It's not presented here direct from the software, but you can speak with them in France and attain the same package. Vola is they changed their setup, as I said, this year, so you really wouldn't know the difference, but this is all very blue. It used to be very red. So they set up these tabs across here in the thought that this is sequentially how you go about setting up, preparing for, timing a race, and then producing the results. So sequentially, here's a toolbar. Parameter going to be what kind of event we have here. Event type, so you open this tab, and then there's type, parameters, header, printing parameters. What kind of event is this? This is a FIS event. It's Alpine, downhill Super G, giant slalom. You can do qualifications, parallel qualifications, parallel, a FIS team parallel event, and they actually have a practice or a training session. So we've got a giant slalom selected, 2 runs, 1 intermediate. You can configure the channels of your timer here. It's also done on another screen, but it's for the sake of explanation, here it is. Timing precision, we're timing to the 100th of a second, so it will truncate appropriately. All of this is fairly simple. Total of runs, 2 runs. That's always fairly straightforward. General parameters, here's the title of the event, which would then show up again here. Discipline, where are we? It's a FIS event. Here's the codex. Basic race administration preparation. The header will give you, here's your jury. These tick boxes indicate the people that will show up on the header. So for those race administrators, everybody that's seen race results, the only people that show up on the header should be the jury members. So in a giant slalom, we have the technical delegate, the chief of race, and the referee. We would have the assistant TD, or the assistant referee and speed. So these are checked, and then their names will show up in the header in the official results. Technical data about the course, forerunners, start and finish, homologation, time, all of those fun things. Weather is here. All of that will then appear on the results sheets. Printing parameters allows you to put logos from the event. So this was here's one. This is just Smuggler's Notch is a location in Vermont. So you put their logo here, the FIS logo here, and then it will show up on the top of all the paperwork. Competitors. We have a number of Canadian athletes in this event. You can import all this information from whatever federation file you're working with. So here's the FIS Alpine list. I think this might even be behind. The latest list is probably 17, I think, but hasn't been updated. You can pull the information from another event. So typically, if I'm timing these college carnivals, we have the same athletes from one day to the next. Pull from the previous day. It'll bring all the same athletes in, and then we just swap it from a giant slalom to a slalom, so we don't have to rebuild the whole database. I'm sorry? Yep, Yep. So this is import from another event. So, yeah, we've got the. When I list these, it's ladies first. So this is a ladies GS, men's GS, ladies slalom, men's slalom. When I build the event for the next day, you can just pull from the same gender and say, yep, we're skiing slalom today, not giant slalom. And when you set it up in the race parameters, it knows to use the slalom points for that event. And you'll see, they're not listed here, but this is the giant slalom points. We've hidden the column for slalom points because we don't care. This is a GS. You have a number of options for those competitor fields. Here we could show downhill, we can show Super G, slalom points, and then those points that information will then show up, as you can see, downhill, Super G. So we've hidden them because we didn't need them. So there's a number it's rather flexible here in the custom fields. This was here's custom one. Did this athlete pay? Are they paid or are they not paid? So that shows up over here. Handy to follow as an administrator. If you're using something other than the FIS seeding, yes, you could then create that here in one of these custom fields. So this custom field allows you to use alphanumeric up to 30 characters. So you can come up with any number of things, and the filtering and the sorting that's available in this software is rather powerful. So you can create a filter that says, let's just figure out the women from points from this range to that range. Yeah, you can come up with your own kind of processes through that. So you have different scoring for whatever type of event. Yeah. This is this is a database-driven piece of software. So everything's in the background, and the front-facing user interface is then going to go query that database and produce the results for you that you've requested. So the categories, this was standard just because this was a FIS event. You can create your own. If we went all the way back to the parameters and just kind of lied to them and said it wasn't a FIS race. Let's say it's a U.S. event. Well, here in the drop-down, U.S. CSA is collegiate. But let's just say it's a U.S. event, And then in general parameters, we can use a free form header, so it's not going to come out like a typical FIS header. And you can create that. You can put anything you want in there. And then here's your custom categories. This is Alpine and Masters categories because we said it's a U.S. race, which we can create our own categories. We can add men, women. We can do anything we want. As we said, in categories here. Yeah, so we could create something different if we had different age classes. I have used this software to time cycling events. I don't care that it says it's a ski racing software. I just put in my categories for cycling events by year, minimum and maximum age, and whatever category they are. So it's although it says ski, it's flexible. Vola does have another product called M Sports, which is designed for everything but skiing. It's the same thing, but it doesn't have the rules and the points that this does. So it deletes the ski-specific stuff. On the other hand, you could just use this and ignore the ski-specific stuff. So, as another tool in the toolbox, I have a software key for the M Sports as well. So, no, you do not. You do not. Originally, they had set it up incorrectly, kind of, to have that be a requirement. So if you and I wanted to work together, we had to have two separate keys. We got that stopped rather quickly. So bibs, assign bibs, assign according to, let's see, we'll delete this list, selection according to competitors, according to an event ranking, rank from another event. If we were using that, a qualification, you'd use rank from another event. According to X best, X meaning how many? According to X best, number of competitors for the draw, well, we have 9 athletes in here, so we're going to use 5, let's say. So we're going to then draw the top 5, and then everybody else will be in point order. So if we had 300 athletes or 140 FIS and scripted athletes, we would use 30 for the draw. Or 15 for the draw, sorry. Yeah, an event that's already happened. You can use that to seed this next race that we're building and assign the bibs accordingly. Assign. Indicate the first number, bib 1. Yeah, 1 through, we had 0 in there. So we just artificially changed the draw. So along to the timing screen, here's the start list. Although you've assigned the bibs already, you haven't built a start list. So you move on and then say, okay, start list, this will be blank, because I already had one in here. We've done the draw and assigned the bibs. Prepare with bibs, 1 through 9. Add. There's your start list. And if we go over to run start list, so run would be first run. Here we are in run 1. You can choose what you want to show. If you want to have a smaller start list, you got a lot of athletes. You want to do men and women on the front and the back. You don't have to have a full page for every 60 athletes. You can change the number of columns. So let's just look at this. Here's a normal FIS start list. Here's our logos as we discussed. Here's our athletes. If we wanted to cut it down, let's take the year, region, points. Take that out. Shut the header off. Fix the width. 2 columns. Won't work real well because there's only 9 athletes. Let's go to a different event so you can see that a little better. So run start list, run 1. Order, bib, name, club. Let's take the points off. 2 columns. Yeah. So we can create a condensed start list. And perfect question. Anything that you do in any one of these to alter things, my suggestion is to always save it. Save. What do we want to save this as? So here's a bunch of stuff that I've already saved as. Run 1, run 2, qualifying event. This is something specific. It was a U.S. ski and snowboard. This was a U.S. ski team alpine combined event. There's any number of things that are built into the software that you can. FIS condensed second run. That's a good one. So. Yeah. You can. Volo does allow you to have men and women in the same file. When you go to administrate the race, there are a couple of extra steps that you would have to do each time to be sure you're using the right codex and gender. It's a little inelegant the way it deals with mixed gender races. I am not a fan of mixed gender race files. I'm a bigger fan of separate gender race files because the results are based on gender. So when I'm done timing the women's race, hand the race off to the race administrator, or I just put it in Dropbox, save it in Dropbox. She can verify that at 11:02, save. Boom, let's go on to the men. She can deal with the women's race file. Referee report's going to come down depending on what event we are. Sometimes we do them in between the men and the women. We have separate juries for men and women. Okay, let's just deal with it and get it over with, get the protest period out, second run start list, keep the day rolling. So, as I said, it's a little inelegant the way it does it. I don't like that about it from an administrative standpoint. From a racing timing standpoint, it's okay to deal with, but I much prefer to have separate gender race files just for that reason, because it's too many extra steps. It's less steps to close out of that race file and go to the next gender. So running men and women, U10 women, then U10 men, back and forth. You've got to wait for that athlete to get off the race course anyhow to finish timing it. It's a couple of... Yeah. Yeah, I've dealt with that for those younger racers. Yeah, where we go back and forth, U10 men, women, men, women. No, it absolutely can do those club races, and I've dealt with the exact thing you're talking about, and it doesn't add much time to the day. It's not that cumbersome. I don't feel. I've done it a bunch. Just me. If you leave the men and the women in the same file, let's not use an event. Let's go back to the test event. Yeah, so in general parameters in here, see this says active genders, men and women. You can have men and women in the same race file. I just prefer to have them separated. Yeah. No, but if you have them in the same race file, we would have 2 different race codes, and then this arrow shows up again here in the timing screen. Right here, if we had those race codes in there, that's where you would swap between the men and the women. So your women's race code is 0253 and the men is 0254. This drop down would be there. And this like I said, this arrow is where it shows up again. The drop down would be here where you can make the selection. So it absolutely will do it. It's just my preference to keep them separate. Because at every point, then, if you have one race file, before you create the start list for the second run, you have to be sure, yes, this is the women. Okay, yes, this is the men. A couple extra steps, I prefer to just swap back and forth. That's totally my choice. So it is powerful. Yes, you can do gender. Yeah. And then, so let's go to, yep. Yes, let's exit out of the timing. Let's open up a different event. So let's say this is the Eastern, trying to pick something that makes more sense. I guess it really doesn't matter. Here's a FIS race. Start list. Run start list. Run 1. Over here we can create a filter. So let's create a filter based on a competitor field of, let's do a year. So now we've broken them out by year. We could easily break them out by category. And then here's your 87, here's your 97s, your 2000s all race here, and your order within those, whatever filter you've used, is then broken out. So you could still have, let's make it based on category. Not sure this will work quite as well just because of the race file. Delete this list. Yeah, you could do multiples. So do it on category. Yeah, so we're going to have 4 different. Yeah, we have one master that raced in this event. Here's your U18s, your U21s. Yes. Yeah. And it carries over your start order within the group as well. So you can easily go back and forth. You'd have the men on one side, the women on the other. Yep, okay, we're racing our U18s. U18 women. Flip it over, U18 men. So the power is there. And again, once I created this filter once, save it, name it something that I need again in the future so I can find it. Get on to the interesting stuff, the timing. So the configuration here is the timing device. This allows you to have 2 timing devices. Not to say that you would hook up an A and a B to the same software. Some people have done that, and that causes all kinds of problems. What it allows you to do is to hook up a 545 with 4 inputs and a 440 with 4 more inputs without having to tie them together to expand the number of channels for, say, a downhill or a Super G. And then you'd say channels 1 through 4 are on the 545. And your starts and finishes are on the primary timer, and your intermediates and speed traps could carry over into the other device. So that's the design of it. There is to use 4 inputs or X number of inputs from one device, and then the other inputs for the flashy intermediates and speed traps could be on the other device. You just want to make sure that you use one device for your starts and finishes, which is what the race is timed on. So don't have a start on one and a finish on the other device. Whoops. So, yeah, timing device. Here we are, the 545 that I have hooked up. COM port is. You can use it via IP. You can use the USB for timing. Numbers that are already assigned. That would be if you hooked up two 545s, you would have to say the second one. You could use channel 1 and 2 from the primary from one device and channel 3 and 4 from the other device. So you would say that 1 and 2 are already used on the first device, so it ignores those impulses. Starts, finishes, intermediates. You can set this up to for a speed trap, and the length here. Here's your parallel for qualification, starts and finishes. Here's parallel, the head-to-head racing. You can do differentials. You can capture net times if you want to. Yes. I've never done it. Sure. Sure. You can do anything. Yeah. You can come up with something. I think. I'm trying to remember if they have it in M Sports. Yeah. Yeah. You probably can come up with it. So we already have our start list. This is what the timing screen looks like. This is our start cue on the left. This would be the first intermediate. We have this set up as one intermediate. And here's the finish cue. The red flashes mean that the next input that it sees won't be assigned, but it's going to ask you what to do with it. One thing you want to see over here is it says synchro. So the software is waiting to find out what time it is. It won't take the time from your computer. It's looking for the time from the timing device. So you just give it an input. What did I change? Let's see what I changed here. Someone. The 545 got changed to a net time mode. So now we should see it no problem. Yeah, yep. So we've given it the input. This is now taken the time. This is what time that the 545 says. We'll ignore this impulse. Yellow caution means, hey, this is something. What was this? You just double click it and say, you can ignore that. So let's run our forerunners. The software is set up in one of the parameter sections to ask you, what do you want to use for forerunner numbers? You say 901, 901A. It knows that's a forerunner. So the next impulse that comes through on channel 2 for the intermediate will be assigned to this athlete because the green boxes, green circles checked. Let's go ahead and open up the finish because we know that we're going to have one forerunner on course at a time. We get a time. Forerunners come through the intermediate. And we'll make it quick. Here's the forerunner to finish. You see that this shows an M. It realizes that I'm manipulating the buttons on the timer, so it's not coming in through the inputs, so it knows that it's a manual time. So as per the FIS rules, it's indicating that it's not from an actual input. So there's no funny business going on. We can start this race. Let's change the display board that I have hooked up. Good. this will mimic what's shown on the board down here, and this is actually the way this board looks is one row over the other, not side by side. You can additionally show the device, timing device paper over here. You can see it over here if you feel like you want to see it. So good. We have an athlete on course. Time's running. Intermediate. This will hold. You see me, people that were here yesterday, sorry if you got to get up to see this, saw me messing around with this yesterday to program this board. The board won't do anything until you tell it what to do with the data. So it'll just be blank. It'll say, what do you want to do with it? We'll go through that in a little bit here, so you can see how I program this. So there's a finish with a 46.07. Put another athlete on behind her to save some time. So it'll stay, and that's first place. And then it should go out in 10 seconds. And move on to the next athlete. So freezes on the intermediate. Goes out in 7 seconds, or 5 seconds, the way I program this. Moves on to the finish cue. On the hill and across the screen. If you had multiple intermediates, they would show up in the center, one over the other. And if you had a speed trap next to time, and it would show you the speed as well. So this athlete, if you see the little red box next to the running time in the finish cue, it's a predictive time, so it's red because they're late. They're not going to win. They're behind. As they're approaching the winning time, it stays green, goes yellow as they're approaching the time, and it may be green if they win. So she's slow. She's going to be in second place. Second place, and then we should see, I did change this at the last minute yesterday, we should see a plus time show up. I changed it yesterday, changed it incorrectly. We can fix that. No, that is sequential. Sequential order of arrival. Yep. No. Here on the right. Yep. Yeah, so this is a SEQ. You see this is in descending order. Sequential order that they arrived. It's a valid impulse number, their time. The total time. Your announcer could watch this, yep. And this your most recent finisher. So somebody might come in down in 8th or 9th, have a little tick box here to say that was the most recent finisher. So you can cue the announcer to look for that information. In here, let's go to the display board parameters. This is this is a multi-line display. Is line 1 on the top, line 2 on the bottom. So you can tell it whatever you want. So right now this says line 1, which is on the top, start at character 1, end at character 8, it's 8 characters wide, and alignment is to the right. You can make this right, left, or scrolling. This board doesn't like left. It will move everything over as the time increases. I just don't like that look, so I build this way rather than move, shift the whole time. Let's give her a... We gave her an intermediate. So you tell it what to put in that line. So we have a field of competitor on course or at the finish. What options are there? Bib, last name, first year, category. You can put a lot of things up there just based on how much room you have for the data. So at an event type after an intermediate, give the time, as we saw, hold the time for 5 seconds, and then it'll go back to the running time. On the second line, here's the abbreviated first name and last name. You can do bib, first name, last name. You can do club. Depends on how much room you have on the board. Get a much larger board. So. This is where I believe that I gave myself a problem. So this is rather slow. Oh, we've got, yeah. So that's GMVS. It's now showing the school. I must have showing the club. Yeah, there's the time behind. I actually was trying to show both time ahead or behind on the same line down below. So it over one. So depending on the board that you have, if you have just line, you can show all the times. Obviously, you can't show names. Show time ahead, behind. You can't show a plus or a minus on the D line, but it coupled with 2 D lines of bib, rank, and time, and the announcer, everybody can figure out, 5.3 means behind if you're not first place. So there's really a lot of flexibility with what you can do with off-the-shelf various displays. Anybody got anything that they see that they want to see or want to understand a little more here? I mean, the timing is fairly straightforward. You can, yep, perfect. You can stack up a number. Okay, so we had some problems here. Something happened at the start. This, why do we get 4 impulses all of a sudden? So here's a button for a DNS. It's also a keystroke of F9. So if you highlight, whatever you highlight, S, or you can just double click it and say, no, that really wasn't an impulse. Or was that? 4 was actually the only starter. The wand bounced. Somebody wasn't paying attention. Something like that, But let's say, what's that? Yep. Just double click it and go, yeah, okay. Two kids actually went out 4 seconds apart. Yeah. We just make that impulse valid again. But Steph Profit isn't here, so let's make her a DNS. We just click on the button, makes her a DNS. We start bib 6, and then we will make bib 4 a DNF. There's a button here, or again, it's a stroke of F10. If you hover over it, the menu pops up. Just do the keystroke, F10. Yeah, all of a sudden, oh, well, you put it up. So there's 2 ways to deal with it. You can either invalidate this DNS or go back to the way we did it with the Forerunner, is to block the input, take the third impulse, and then it says, okay, I have a piece of data, what do you want me to do with it? Well, what I want you to do with it is assign it to bib 5, Steph Profit. Okay. Is now on course. But you see we have two orange icons, 2 5s. I have a DNS and a start. Which one do you want me to use? That's green. Active. Ignore it. do anything with that. So we'd select that. We have a good intermediate for it here. You can see it. Yeah, it was too quick, but here's your late behind the leaders. Yep. Well, online. Oh, okay. So that's here. This is a Word emulator. So that's showing that right here. Yep. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep. Sure. So that's what you see. So I can continue timing over here. We got to finish from the software in the parameters. Let's do it all at once here. I just clicked on the software parameters. Here's your options. Here's where you set the numbers you're going to use for forerunners. You might use 501 to 505. Who cares? Ranking. So this says display ski out pro. This controls this here, controls this here. So this is all the things you can show on this screen. Let's show intermediate one. You can a second for it to catch up, but it'll figure it out, and you'll see intermediate one will pop up, and then you can then see athletes are doing. Yep. It will reflect it. So now we can see intermediate one here. We dropped off the nation's flag. Let's insert the nation again. Did I lose it? Yeah, you don't have to find Bruce or anything strange. Yeah. So. As I change this from to a parameters event type won't show flags if it's not official. Back to timing. Yes, we're in the timing screen here. Yeah. So you have a lot of flexibility of what you want to, what you can show here. Yes. Yep. Yep. So they are. Yeah. Here's all your pulses. You don't have to step process. They're all right here in front of you. Well, there aren't any, right? Overtakes. Say that. Yeah. So I can make this the finish for Did we have so? Yeah, well, make this the finish rib 4, Beatrix lever. This was actually lever. Okay, well, we had a DNF. All right. So where's our 4? So that doesn't make sense at 5 minutes and 49 seconds, right? Oh, okay, so that can't. Right? So that's not actually her. That really was 7. There's a change the number, it changes the result. You just make sure you have the right one. But it's all right here and it's all available very quickly. Finish. Stack ups and finishes. Oh, we do actually have an 8-minute run time now. It's gonna be really slow. It's a lot of hiking. A lot of hiking in a fist race for an event you can't hike in, right? Yes. Yes. Well, like I said, it's you can use this for multiple disciplines, so cross country as well. Yeah. They do have a product for cross country with the cross country scoring. Nobody's doing any cross country scoring here. So let's just this out. And so here's our results. We had a wide disparity of times today in a very, very short field. So we can close that. So yes, we want to exit timing. Again. Move this back over here. Come on. Yeah, so this is what we're going to see in the lodge or wherever. And you can put whatever graph you want on here. This is how you control and set this up. I see it in English. This is pointed to the correct folder that timing computer is. This is where you would change it to say your computer is going to connect to this through the network, and then you're going to display over there. The position just moves it obviously to the other screen. Black background, round rectangle at the top. Here's the title. This has a drop shade, so here's black at this position. Here's white or green, just slightly off, so it has a drop shadow. You can do any number of things. You can make this all your resort color. You can make this the major sponsor color. You can color this to be Tim Hortons colors. Anything you want to do. You can put user logo, Vola logo. I don't need to advertise for Vola, so I don't. Would be quite small. It's not really a real picture. Yeah. Once you have more, yes. Yeah. Let's. Yeah. So let's do that, Jason. Let's just close this and open. Has all that info. So this will give it a second for the software to talk to each other. Yep. So here you go. There's the ranking scrolling at the bottom, Jason, just like we talked about, or you asked about. This was obviously the University of New Hampshire Carnival. This is the slalom. This is the last finisher. This is yep. So F1. So yeah, you can control. So here's the page. Let's see. We want to see 15 seconds on the leaders, and just to make it real obvious that we changed. Whoops. We'll do 2 seconds on the next page. So 15 seconds on the leaders page. And it'll keep scrolling. It's connected to this laptop right now, so yeah, now we're moving through, as you said, Jason. So Obviously, 2 seconds isn't long enough. So you can control all of that time, and you really could, if you wanted to, just make this ranking. You could just show leaders after. I'm trying to look and see what my. Yeah, so this in between runs, when you aren't actually timing anything, it'll just scroll along. Right now we're not running anything to live timing. The live timing is another app, like I said. So, and we'd want to be out of the. I want to be out of the timing software, so I don't send anything again. So what you can't see in the background that I've just done over here is that I've closed out of the timing software. Display Ski Out Pro is still running. It's still running. It's on the last event that you were on, so it will stay running during the day, or during lunch or whatever your last event was. So let's look at that. Let's look at what the FIS app looks like. So get out of that. Let's close that. And sorry, close the wrong one. Close that. Here's the FIS app, so it's just that runs in the background. Same thing, it's looking for what the host, where the race files are going to live. Here's the codex. It's pulling the codex from the Ski Out Pro, from the race software. It says, okay, you're working on this event in run 1, and if I sent the data, it would change all the data at the FIS right now. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, there's a server, port, password. You can send the weather, whatever the weather is. Yep, you send a message. So you can send race complete, and that will show up on the scroll at the FIS site. Yes. Yep. It has. You would need another app to send to live timing. So currently, as we sort of discussed last night, is that you don't have a page like this for Canada. This, as indicated at the top, is U.S. Ski and Snowboard's page for all the races in the U.S. I'm pointing back at this old race so I could show you the file that I couldn't play, which is rather ineffective. But if I go to races, so here are all the most recent VOLA races in the U.S., right? Day 2 of the Sugar Slalom back on the 7th. We can scroll through and see all these events. Out west, Burke Mountain Academy, the FIS finals in the east, Vail. So if you were able to work this out with, here's some races that we had, Sunday River. If you're able to work this out for VOLA, you could have a Canadian page, and anybody that used VOLA would have these pages. This page would be available here. Here's the NCAAs that I timed at Stowe. You put all these logos up. Whistler Cup. So let's try to find that. Yes. Whistler Cup live timing. Yep. So it's going to be here, and then let's see, sure. Yeah, here's all the Whistler races. So I emailed last night to Henry. I didn't hear any response from him yet, but this is obviously a page that Whistler Ski Club, Whistler Mountain Ski Club has set up through VOLA to host. Any of their races are on their page, as you can see right here. What day is it? It's the 14th. Yeah, what time? Yeah, right. So we've got a men's and women's GS. We've got. It's interesting. So like I said, whoops, my apologies. They have two different races, one for men and one for women, but in the parameters they set it as a mixed gender race. So we caught them not operating the software perfectly, although it will. It just shows that it's a men's and women's race, but it's obviously not. So they're trying to do the same thing that I said, to have separate events. But they've got it indicated as men's and women's event. Down here in the Super G, that happened the other day, yeah, sure. Rank, bib, competitor, class, club, team, look at all the information they've given us here. That's rather strange. That shouldn't be green. Let's check, because I honestly, yeah, 650. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It was just learning something new, and there were a lot of people. Gilles, what did you just quote? How much is it? 650 Swiss francs. Yep. And then so it's 650 Swiss francs for Ski Out Pro for the main software. It's something along the same order for display. This published Ski Out Pro is the one that we use in the U.S. to create the U.S. page that I showed you that looks like this. Yeah. Price the same. Yeah. Fred said, and the point I wanted to make as well is, how many races did you do this year? More than, but more than if I loaned you both my hands, or how many races did we all time this year? 5. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 5, 2. Some of these people that like Fred said, that just stopped using Vola because they went back for years and years. They are the less than 10. There are smaller clubs back in New Hampshire, in my area. Yeah, we host 2 races a year, or we host 5 races a year. I timed 60 events myself this year. It's a wide disparity. Like I said in the beginning, I found this to be a good tool for me. One of the latest iterations of things that I can do with Vola is to create the output onto an LED board. So this is this comes right from the Vola software. This is what I've created with it. This is a 2 square meter, 5 millimeter pixel pitch outdoor rated board. That's on a 10 by 10 frame. Breaks down into a road case about the size of this, with the framework in 3 pieces. Manageable by me to put up and tear down in about 45 minutes. Yes. Yeah, that was the last one we talked about. Yep. Yep. So those are 2 things that I guarantee you none of you in this room will use. So don't get scared by those numbers. Those are absolute pro level. At least 5 people need to operate that system. That's a yeah. That's a that's a huge, and that's a $10,000 expense right there to do that. I know we are in the land of private clubs with a lot of money, but it's above and beyond what the norm is. Everybody says that they want to do this, and Fred and I have both taken phone calls for years about this. Oh, we want to have 4 cameras. Great, you need 3 operators. People think this is not plug and play. This is yeah. Yeah. So sure, yeah. Sure.
Or will you're going to come back to do PPDR stuff later?
Yep, I can do that.
Then
Yep.
segue back into
Yep.
doing show and tell on.
Sure. I could conclude the VOLA and how much does it cost to say, yes, it's going to be 650 Swiss francs to start, and then a yearly update is around 300, and that's it. This is not, it's not perpetual one license. There's an annual update, but it's not the same. You move from version 6.024 to version 7 next year, it'll be 300 Swiss francs. Yep. Well, you need a license for everything, every piece of software you're going to run it on. Yes. And as I've said, I don't run more than one piece of software at a time of ski race. You want to save money? There's no need to run a second piece of software on your backup timing system. You just need to time the race. And we can get into that later. And I saw that look. Yeah. It's 100% not necessary. They're on the timer, but that's just me.
Okay, my name's representing the Canadian Paralympic ski team. I just want to do a quick introduction into factored timing. So how para racing works is there's classifications for the disabilities. We have three main categories: visually impaired, standing impaired, and sitting. There are different classifications within each category, and for each impairment, there's a certain sort of handicap to raw time that's applied to sort of your start and your finish time, which we call raw time. One of the reasons why I'm here and took the opportunity to come out here is in the Canadian system, as far as developing youth para racers, because there's so few, the population's small, we only have identified maybe 14 athletes who are in youth racing, so U16. Too small to and that's across the country. Too small to hold a race to make it viable or make it worthwhile. So what we are using as far as the pathway to develop these racers is the able-bodied system. Okay, so using that crucible of the competition to compete with some of the able-bodied athletes. The one problem we're running into now is because you guys are all, like, it's just raw time. So if you have a young girl, U14, coming down as a three-tracker, so on one leg and two outriggers, she's going to be last, probably. Okay, and doesn't matter if we go and work for 3 weeks, she's improving. If you're still running raw time, she's probably going to be last again. So again, you can't use the ranking system as a means to show improvement and to try and to develop long term. What I want to try and propose is to start using those same able-bodied races, so you're running it the same, but if you have a para racer, say starting bib 36, is we apply. So instead of, out of a race of say 50, instead of them being 50th because they have one leg, they may be able to beat a racer or two in their factor time and come to like 48. So we can go away, work 3 months of training, or 3 weeks of training, they come back and maybe they're 45th, okay, with the factor time instead of being last again because they have one leg. So the idea is to highlight the athletic achievement through proper and appropriate ranking based on the factored system. So the idea, I was talking with Cam a little bit about some potential drop-down buttons, some some one touch, one button. So if you know that bib 36 is, which is a 3-tracker application, you can just apply factor, and then in real time, the factor 7. So you plot that factor against their raw time, and you get their factored time, which then you would rank within your race results for race 1, reseed them, same application for race 2. Yeah, so the example in the lower bottom here, so this is Kurt Oatway. He's one of the Paralympic racers. His classification is an LW12, so that's a low broken back. So there's some he's disabled as sitting skier. So his raw time was 1 minute 3 seconds 5. If we apply his factor for, I think this is the GS factor right now, their his factor time is a 52. The technology available right now, all these factors, they're get to licensing to this factor matrix. The only reason running so we use microgate and then it into a spreadsheet that's similar like this, which applies the factors, which gives us their factored time. Yeah. If I had a little bit more time to prepare, like I could have shown you some of the right now we do broadcasts on YouTube and Facebook, and the running time will be going time factor, and then roughly what the percentage of the factor is. So essentially these are percents. As like it's still an ongoing science. It's still being researched from University of Bern in Switzerland. They come out and do a lot of things because right now it's just basically done on statistics of timing and time off leader or time off fastest time. So it's a median of every sort of LW9 to every like the idea, like as I come and we're working a little bit more on our development system. Again, we only have, say, 14 racers under the age of 16 across Canada right now. They're in their pathway, and that we need more races. Right, in America, we maybe have 4 races that are IPCAS, which are their opening and that sort of codexes. But we only have maybe 1 race in the U.S. Association. Like we have the U.S. Nationals and the Canadian Nationals, which are a combined event, and then maybe we'll have 2 or 3 other events. So as you can see, like there's not a lot of racing for these athletes or a lot of fair racing. So again, the idea is to use the able-bodied U16, U14, U12, as low as U10. If we can find them, we want to try and keep them in it. And instead of highlighting your last place, but you tried hard, but as soon as you start applying this, then we can actually see how they're ranking. Right, so right now, yeah, ultimately right now, like manually, like we have manual sheets that we use even if it's just a para race, but the idea would be to work with some software designers. So there's a drop down. So if you know bib, whatever, apply this factor. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Yeah. Again, ultimately looking for solutions that are easy for everyone, like drop down, like new software drop down tabs. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even some sort of application within like an Excel or the formats that you guys use. Again, I'm not very familiar with race software. We do like everything's manual on the side of the hill when it comes to my timing. My father times a lot, so I see him in the timing hut, but he just tells me to get out. Um, so. No, this is once. Your system is once every 2 years, roughly. They go back and review and do their formulas again and see. So again, like right now, the category LW92, which is a fairly generous category, it's neurological impairment. So cerebral palsy, young kids who've had strokes who have some neurological impairment. Right now, they're winning everything. So it's starting to seem a little bit unfair, but as as their median time moves up, their factor won't be as generous, essentially. And yeah, it's fairly static, and ultimately, like I have this is a 2018 factor update. Like if the IPC is fine with using 2016, that's fine. It's just the idea is to get it a little bit more fair for those youth para athletes when they're racing against their able-bodied peers, to not have their disability highlighted, their athletic endeavor and their athletic development that we're trying to highlight, or at least put on the playing field. Yep. Somehow, yes. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, they and would want to do it in real time is so we don't parents of able-bodied children who this para athlete maybe now beat, and it's like, well, why do they get some of their time taken off from point A to point B? Yeah, we rarely show the raw time. So, and this like in the a spreadsheet that I have for some racing, like you wouldn't you wouldn't make this public. The raw times would remain private, and the only thing that get kicked out is, yeah. So if you have display, yeah, if you had display boards and that sort of stuff. Well, if it was the factor, you ever like if we ever watch a race, like the B1 is the lowest class. That's like squad. Okay, they're just following noise, and you can watch the clock, and it will be like counting down the tenths of a second, and then you'll see it like pause for an extra few hundredths at that time. So you can tell that something's being applied to it, but you don't see the raw time. Is what we'd be trying to avoid. Be concurrent in real time. Well, in this region, we're looking at 6 athletes of all different categories. So we have an LW4, we have a B3, we have an LW12-1, and then 3 LW2s. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean that. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the exciting thing because I was thinking have for development to make it easy, but it sounds available already. It's only going to take the lobbying now to get this, or is there going to be a licensing fee that maybe ACA takes care of, so we can have these numbers to disseminate as we see the IPC and the ICW. That software is just for races that are in a development pathway crucible of able-bodied ski racing to use ranking as a means of showing improvement instead of like athletic improvement. Yes, but you're still. And again, it's youth racing to try and like get kids excited to be with their peers and just level the playing field a little bit. Yeah. So I think it's a pretty easy fit, and it will be getting permission to use these and disseminate these, whether it's an old list or not. I mean, I think like the 2006 list. I mean, you're talking in thousands of of the decimal points as differently as some athletes retire, like some really competitive athletes retired and some don't. No, but that's the thing. Like, I have these are. It's easy for me to get anybody in trouble. Like, it might be one of those things to ask for forgiveness rather than ask for permission. Um, so, so like that's generally the idea. Exactly. We just punch them in manually, and again, like in this, yeah, in this be around, and probably traveling with a lot of those younger athletes. So even to hop into the timing shack and just here. Pardon? Any development racing. I would love to apply this. Right. So again, like the idea, we lose athletes very quickly. First off, like Paralympics, like it's first off hard to find people viable. Not everybody who's disabled can ride. Okay. Yeah. So again, once we get people classified or get close to a classification, like then they can see that they can compete with friends, and yes, my disability is being accounted for. Hopefully, keeps them in the longer so they can develop and like at least make it to puberty, so they can see how strong they can be, and then continue on. And usually like if they have cut the mustard. Like even to U8 and U12 masters, like this seems pretty applicable to everybody. But pathways and our pathways for development for the Canadian Paralympic team, we start picking them up and putting them in our programming after the age of 16. But I know we have one girl here who's just because she's still in school, so I want her to be able to race here, still her factor applied, and then so do you see that people one line. Does anybody back to the route? Yeah. Exactly. And again, like you would just the ranking would just and the improvements in points, like you just treat them like any other racer as far as the points output, because they factor time. We need clarification from NSO or the PSOs on that. And not make everybody the same, but put everybody on the level playing field. Yeah, I think it's a pretty so. that's a good question, and that can still think what we've and impaired athletes is they're always run first. Okay, so there's less ruts and holes for them to run into. So as far as some sort of seeding. Time. And then again, VI, I took the factor a little bit, is our racer, and you apply, and then we've had some Alberta racers. And then Mac will go, and when Mac and him ski together, and then we apply their factor, Mac's probably running at 46. Actually with VI, steep handicap, steep factor. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right, so yes, thank you very much. It's a quick heart. So last night at dinner we had a Blinky Box battery question, right? About tell when your Blinky Box. I think this applies to this as well. The battery indicator light will start blinking, like blink, blink, blink to warn you, and then it'll start blinking rapidly when it's like, I am really going to die. Please change me. So that's, yes, there is a thing in there that is available on, we're going to send out an email, to try to give you a link to these videos and some other resource materials. But yes, there is a battery indication thing on there. And it's not a bad idea to put a bum battery in there and just try to see what it does. Right, so very good. Next, Mr. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Where are we? Oh, it's new. Already. We should have started at 8. No. No. Okay, so next up in the program is Cam and all the stuff that, you guys, know and love and been working with him and, previously Dick Beer and everything before that. I guess, do you want to break and go eat and then give you a fresh perspective? Okay, so let's do that. Hold on, Vance, you got to take your box. All right. I touch hardware with anyone other than you. So, all right. So, at any rate, okay, is everybody want a break? Is everybody hungry, or so to speak, or break is good? Okay, so we're going to break, and I'm available if we want to do more hardware-y type of stuff. We have to go elsewhere to get sandwiches, correct? Or whatever. And where is that place? Okay, we're going to go on a wild goose chase again like we did last night with the elk horn, or was somebody going to contact this place before we drive over there? Okay, well let's do a little research, and then the other things that we wanted to get across after Cam does his thing and so forth. To be fair, I did do a little video interview with Jeff. I want to play that. I'm going to get more volume out of the little speaker thing, so I'm going to work on that. And yes, please. I have this little thing, but I don't know if this is any better than what I had initially. These are pretty good? Okay. All right. So we'll work on that. So we're going to break, and then we'll return with a fresh thought process and so forth, and then we'll give the keys to the bus to Cam. All right?